Well, good morning and welcome to the Mesa City Council study session for October the 27th. All of our council members are here and accounted for, and this is a special day. We're also pleased to have with us, in addition to the great crowd that we normally attract, delegations from our two sister cities. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for being here. Again, Mayor Corrigan, I apologize for the ungodly hour that we made you get up to come to this meeting this morning. But we have both mayors from Burnaby and from Guaymas are here. Mayor Corrigan, again, welcome. And Mayor Decima Dworak, nice to see you again, my friend. Thank you. Welcome to Mesa. So we'll look forward to socializing after this meeting and helping you to enjoy the hospitality of Mesa, Arizona. But thank you for being here and thank you for your friendships. The first item on our agenda for this meeting is to hear a presentation and provide direction on current, I guess we're not going through the agenda for Thursday, right? I mean, for Monday. All right.
There's no meeting Monday.
No meeting on Monday. I'll be here, but if anybody else. So.
Halloween.
That's right, Halloween. Oh. That's great. Okay, first item then is to hear a presentation and provide direction on current and proposed City of Mesa early learning enrichment activities. Heather Wolf, our library director, thank you so much for being here. We've been looking forward to this presentation for quite a while. We know you've been working diligently on this topic for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As introduced, I am Heather Wolf, the library director, but today I'm here as the staff liaison for early childhood education in the City of Mesa. And my team includes, we have Sunny O'Rourke and Dina Milliron from the IDEA Museum, Dr. Tom Wilson from the Arizona Natural History Museum, Cynthia Esquera from Neighborhood Outreach, and we have Natalie Lewis and Neil Curley from the City Manager's Office. And finally, way in the back, Mike Holst and Leslie Clark from Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities. We also have a team member who was on the original Early Childhood Education Task Force, Dr. Dawn Foley, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at Mesa Public Schools. She, however, had a dead car battery this morning and is not able to join us. We have a lot of slides, but I promise this will be a high-level, fast-moving presentation so that there will be plenty of time for discussion at the end. In December of 2015, the mayor formed a task force of community leaders to identify key challenges in providing early childhood education to students in Mesa and to offer options to ensure that Mesa's children arrive at kindergarten ready and able to learn. In May 2016, the task force presented council with their report and offered this call to action. This slide graphically depicts the current challenges the task force identified. Specifically, Mesa parents are faced with issues of availability, affordability, and accessibility when trying to provide quality early childhood education for their children. And that's where our 4 departments come in. Our departments offer a wide variety of free and low-cost enrichment experiences for this audience, and we have done so for years. These 8 standards were developed by the Arizona Department of Education to provide a framework when planning quality learning experiences for children ages 3 to 5. These and other early learning standards are considered by staff when we're creating programs for our children and caregivers. And as you can see, our departments offer many opportunities to expose children to all 8 of these standards. At the library, we're obviously passionate about literacy, but we are not educators, and literacy looks different for the different age groups. So to help us design programs that are age appropriate and align with education standards, the Public Library Association and the Association for Library Service to Children commissioned 2 education experts to develop the curriculum for every child ready to read at your library. And we use those principles and incorporate the 5 early literacy practices of singing, talking, reading, writing, and playing into all of our programs. While we want children to have fun at story time, and be excited about reading and coming to the library, our ultimate goal is to have the parent leave story time with ideas, activities, songs, and reading materials that will help them develop their children's literacy skills at home. Here are
Yeah.
some examples.
Excuse me, Heather. Mr. Luna has a question for you.
Heather, great job. I think this is great. Now, when you have the parents and their kids go to the library, is it a consistent group of people, or is it always a mixture of different people going to the library?
The answer is both. We have a lot of weekly activities. So story time at Dobson happens the same day, same time every week. So people come and they develop a routine and bring their children. But this group ages out very quickly. You know, they're growing and developing. So we always have new people coming in. At the same time, we have a lot of special programs, especially during the summer, during summer reading, that bring people who wouldn't normally come on a weekly basis, but they'll make a special effort for this particular program. So we do have a combination.
So when you're delivering reading, when you're reading to the child, is it the materials that you're reading to your kids, is it age appropriate, and who's doing the reading? Is it the librarian? And
So the librarians do prepare, like I said, using the Every Child Ready to Read curriculum. So they do prepare a story time, and they are looking to find ways to make points during the story time. So they're not just reading the story, but then they're talking to parents about it's okay to use vocabulary that your child may not be familiar with, because that's how you expose children to words, and you help them learn words in the context of the story. And they'll talk about when you're at home, you know, today we talked about the letter P or the color green. So when you're at home, here's things you can do at home to keep emphasizing those concepts at home. So again, it's fun for the kids, and Vice Mayor Kavanaugh has been wonderful and has done story times for us several times. And he knows all about the singing and dancing and all that fun stuff that happens. But
Really?
we also
Good.
but we also are trying to help parents become better at home with their children and making their children ready for school.
and the socialization aspect is key, as you know,
Yes.
working with toddlers at that age and
Yes.
getting them ready for kindergarten. Are you doing something relative to that in terms of teaching kids how they need to socialize with their buddies, and so when they get to kindergarten that they act appropriately?
They act appropriately. So our, like especially the toddler time, which is the picture on the bottom here, one of the things that we're really working on is movement. And it's not just to get their wiggles out, which of course it does help so they can concentrate, but it is also to help them learning to follow directions. Fine and motor, those gross motor skills are important, so learning to control their bodies so they don't accidentally whack their neighbor while they're having fun in the story time. Those sorts of things, yes, we do work on those.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, that was a real technical term, wasn't it? This slide shows you, again, examples of programs that we offer for children at the next level. This age group is 3 to 5. And I was talking about the things that we do for parents in story time, but we do have programs specifically for parents because First Things First has provided a generous grant to the New Directions Institute. They come to the library and they offer multi-session workshops specifically for parents. And it's a great way for the library to partner and offer parents a chance to meet with experts, which we, of course, are not. And many people think of the summer reading program as just being for children who can read, but it is also for our pre-readers. Numerous studies have shown that children who are exposed to reading before preschool are likely to do well in all facets of formal education because that early exposure to reading and hearing words helps improve all of these categories that you see listed here on this slide.
Yes, Mr. Luna.
So when you do the pre-reader, you have somebody actually teaching the kids about reading, and then they go on there by themselves and then look at books so they can see the words and the images, or how does that work?
Well, at summer reading, really it's self-directed reading time at home, but we do talk with parents about that reading does look very different for the age groups. So like in Baby Lapsit, we can talk with parents that, you know, babies can't sit for 20 minutes and read in your lap. So if you've got 5 minutes, and it's okay to use books that don't have words, you know, the great pictures, and then just talk to the children about what the picture is. You know, so, and then in summer reading during our programs, those programs, we have to accommodate large numbers of children at a time. So we'll get 100 children as opposed to 50 at a story time, but during the summer we'll get 100. So it's a little bit more of a mass effort, but we do have staff who are very happy to talk with parents about techniques they can use at home, and we try to often hand out a handout that they can take home with them that lists the songs that we've sung, that lists the reading materials that are appropriate, basically to get them through the week till the next session. This map shows our library card holders age 0 to 5. I want to qualify this because, of course, not every parent has to get a library card for their children in this age group. This is just if a parent chooses to get. So it's not all of our library users age 0 to 5, but it is library card holders age 0 to 5. And I think it's interesting to note that the largest density of those card holders is in 85201, 204, and 207. In summary, here is just a sample of the library programs currently being offered and how they align with the early learning standards. And next, we have Dr. Tom Wilson.
Mayor, members of council, thank you for inviting us to give this presentation to you. The Arizona Museum of Natural History has very rich environmental situations for kids of all ages, of course, but there's a number of programs that are specifically geared toward kids that are in the 5 and younger category. In the drop-off of programs, we have prehistoric preschool and Fun with First Things First. And the difference between those is simply that First Things First sponsors some of the programs, and prehistoric preschool is paid for by the participants. So these are programs that kids come, it's a drop-off. They have about 2 hours at the museum with us. These are usually themed. Sometimes we have a geology day coming up, for example, and things like that. So it's dinosaurs, it's geology, paleontology, and things like this, but of course geared for kids that are 5 years old and under. And this is the distribution of participants. And you'll see in the prehistoric preschool where the participants pay, the participants from Mesa are 29%. In the grant-funded First Things First program, which focuses on the Southeast Valley, the kids from Mesa have a higher percentage of participation. Family events just means that there are enrichment activities when families come into the museum. Dino Egg Hunt is one, I Love Science Day, and for example, the Geology Day that's coming up. Those happen throughout the year. The Exploration Station is an educational facility in the museum with a high enrichment capabilities. And so when you go in there, there's all sorts of special programs, and kids under 5 participate in this considerably. Make and take crafts, this happens every weekend. When you come into the museum, there are stations that are geared toward young kids, and they get to take things away after they've made them.
Excuse me, Tom, I think Mr. Luna has a question for you.
Thank you, that's great. Now, when you design your programs, and it sounds like they're manipulative, the kids have access and can touch it. So
Yes.
are they designed so that they're age appropriate, or how do you deliver that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have 3 educators on our staff who are specialists in early childhood education. So we very much have, first of all, the early learning standards are built into all our programs, and that's it's part of the program, yes.
So the kids that you're getting, it's not a consistent group, it's just whoever walks in at that time, or?
It is not a consistent group.
Okay.
They can repeat, but they don't necessarily have to.
Okay, and then you do this once a month, or how do you deliver your program?
The prehistoric preschools are about 12 a year, but it's not necessarily once a month. So it'll be scheduled. Those are probably scheduled from spring through early fall, for example.
And how do you alert the public that this is available? Do you go to your website, or how's that?
Yes, primarily through social media. Yeah, and this shows our visitation statistics. So you'll see that we serve about 12,000 kids a year through these various programs, and that's kind of a breakdown of the numbers in the different kinds of programs. And just about all everything we do for early learning is based on the standards. It just depends on the context. You know, so in the museum exhibits, they're probably a little bit less focused than they are in the prehistoric preschool and first things first and things like that. So we do quite a bit in early learning, but of course there's a lot more that we could do.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm here to let you know what Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities is doing in the area of childhood enrichment, and we do quite a bit year-round. We have 4 focus areas that we like to concentrate on. They're physical development, we have enrichment, parent-taught, and community awareness. In physical development, we concentrate a lot on programs that deal with sports, dance, martial arts, tumbling, swimming. We even have in Parks and Rec, we have a program called Whack Your Neighbor. For enrichment, we deal a lot with Munchkin music. You can see several of these programs, and the programs include music, arts, science, socialization, and safety. Parent-taught, our programs is very important, and we deal a lot with the programs that have interaction between the parents and their children through swimming, play-along pals, dance, and things of that nature. And then finally, in community awareness, we have a lot of camps that dealing with things in the community. My first camp, Wiggles and Giggles, Safe Town. But one of the areas that Parks and Rec really excels in, even among these programs, is the area that we have over 60 innovative playgrounds, splash pads, sports areas, swimming pools that are the best in the country, and those are so important in child enrichment because they have a lot of physical development, social interaction, enrichment in those areas, and those aren't really even measured when it comes to programs like this. My favorite color is blue, so I like this slide, and it shows that the demographics for our area is broken down all over the whole valley, but the majority concentrates pretty much in the middle and of Mesa. We just in our programs alone, and this does not measure playgrounds at all. We have about 7,700 participants annually, and several of these receive fee assistance. This shows the breakdown by zip code, just to show the different areas, so you can see the concentration isn't in just one area, it's citywide. And the final shows the standards, again, that are associated with the Parks and Recreation programs. I'd like to turn this over now to the Idea Museum.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor John Giles and Vice Mayor Dennis Kavanaugh, Council, City staff. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this presentation today and also part of this committee. It's very exciting to see what everyone is doing already across the city. For the benefit of those that are not familiar with the Idea Museum, we were created 38 years ago as the Arizona Museum for Youth. We rebranded in 2014, and we have gone from 65,000 to 106,000 in attendance. And everything we do has a pedagogy and an underlying reason why we do it, including our early childhood programs. And as you can see from this slide, we have 3 main offerings. The Hub Gallery, which supports discovering art, engaging families, and also encouraging creativity of all ages. And you see here our doodle area where young children are exploring and expressing their imagination. We have the Whiteman Family Gallery, where we change out the exhibition 3 times a year. Right now it's A Dog's Life, showcasing beautiful artwork as well as interactive activities. And then what I'd like to focus on is Artville. Next slide. Artful was created actually for 0 to 4-year-olds. And I want to bring attention again to Dina Milliron, who is here. She's our curator of education. She has an early childhood background. She was once in charge of a daycare, also familiar with Head Start. And I also want to brag about her a little bit more. She's about to finish her master's degree at NAU in early childhood education, focusing on educational leadership. So we're thrilled to have her as part of our museum. I also want to bring attention behind her.
Excuse me, Sonny.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luna.
I'm excited that you have Dina here. So I was going to ask her specifically, how are you aligning your pedagogy with the standards so that we make sure that they're aligned and that they're flowing well and we're meeting the needs of kids in terms of instruction?
Well, we do take into account all of the early learning standards with the state that the Arizona Department of Education has established. We do look at those as we are planning all of our activities. We look through each and every single one as we look at our offerings and what kind of activities we're planning and what we're thinking about planning. And we go through each and every one of the activities to make sure that they are aligned. And while we are taking that into account, we're also thinking about all the different domains of learning that are present with children and development. So while we are looking at the early standards as well, we're also thinking about all the social and emotional, the cognitive learning, the literacy, and the approaches to learning as well.
Why don't you stay here?
Okay.
So because she's here, and you've called her up, thank you very much, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit more about each of the spaces that are listed there.
Okay, well, in Artville, we are looking at all these different areas, and in Todd Square in particular, Todd Square is our space for early learners, for pre-walkers. It's a safe space for little ones to explore and look at all the different areas and have a lot of tactile different experiences. The Performing Arts Center is where children are able to get up and play with musical instruments and move. They're able to dress up in costumes and really have some of that social learning that is so important for young learners. The We Design in the Big Blocks room area is our manipulative area. So that's where they're using their fine motor skills. They're using pre-engineering skills as well, where they're thinking about different ways that they can build and put things together, and also pre-math skills. But Puppets in the Kitchen area is also another one of our dramatic play areas and social play areas. The garden in the living room, again, is an area where, well, the living room in particular is we call our literacy room. That's where children and parents can read together. And the art studio is where they get creative. And they have a lot of hands-on exploratory time with art materials. And the whole area in together is really focusing on parents and children working and interacting together and engaging together.
I do want to mention that Artville is often used by parents as if it was an informal preschool. According to our records, one family actually came 101 times to Artville in a year, so that it is really important. And Dina came on board specifically to help create Artville. So as you can see, we have Artville programs. We have both drop-in and registration for programs. Messy Creations is wonderful, and our most popular one of that is Infant Messy Creations. There's usually a waiting line to get into that program. And the importance of that is just simply exploration of the materials, and that parents are comfortable with their kids being messy with art products, and also developing the brain and the executive function, which is so important about choice, because if they're developing that and they're developing their social behaviors, then they might not whack their neighbor when they're an adult. Sorry, that seems to be in a theme, but. And then we also concentrate even early on with the STEAM, as Dina mentioned, with science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. And then we have Artful Tales Experience and Artful Tales, which I'm going to turn that over to Dina because some ASU interns developed that program, and it's awesome.
Our Artful Tales experience began with the Artful Tales drop-in story time that we were doing every day at 11 o'clock. And because we have a guided tour program for K through 6, we were looking at ways that we can engage our preschool programs. And so we expanded our Artful Tales drop-in story time to incorporate more of a structured program for preschools and organized daycare groups, preschool age groups. Artful Tales experience is an art and literacy program. So the children get a story time and they get an art making activity that's based on the story. And the activities change every 3 months with is themed to our guided tour exhibit. They are able to, the teachers go home with a packet of information that kind of extends the learning from what happened in the classroom. They take home a packet of tools that they can do to extension activities that they can do in the classroom. That program has grown. Like I said, like Sunny said, it was started by an intern and has grown over the years. And now we are actually taking it out to the libraries. We take Artful Tales as an outreach program to the libraries, and also have taken it out to Arizona as an outreach program to the Arizona Parents as First Teachers, which is a First Things First sponsored organization.
You'll also note that we have special programs, and we're really proud to offer Caterpillar's Footprint by Kerfuffle, which is a theater organization that was created by an ASU intern again. And that program, a graduate student, that program was created with preschoolers, and they presented with them and for them, as opposed to just taking a book as an adult and presenting it for children. Next slide. Thank you, Heather. So you can see here the Artful Tales experience, and we really are thrilled with our partnership with the library, and also with the fact that when we have our exhibitions in the Whiteman Family Gallery, we always also go to the library and ask for recommendations for age-appropriate storybooks and so forth. So it's great. And we actually serve about 1,000 a year in that program. We also have free access for people that are not able to pay to come to the museum. And you can see over the years, formerly funded by Target, now the Gila River Indian Community Grants actually helps to fund our access. And so we are able to offer 4 free Sundays a year, as well as we have the Southwest Maker Fest that is free as well. And so we're thrilled that we can be accessible to folks that may not be able to pay. Next slide. And this shows you, as you saw on one of the other maps, our membership by zip code. That is how we capture the age of the child. However, not everyone puts that down on their application to be a member. But you can see the boxes. About 40% of each of those box numbers within each of the areas of Mesa are actually a home with children age 0 to 5. Now, this just shows Mesa, but we actually cover the whole valley. But 38% of our attendance are Mesa residents, and that's what we're focusing on. So that's why the map just shows that today. And last but not least, like everyone else has shown in their programs, Neil gave us a wonderful survey to do with this to see what our early childhood standards are and how they match. And we were really proud of the fact that we matched many of the standards in all of our early childhood programs. And before I leave you, I wanted to also give a shout out to Cindy Ornstein, our Director of Arts and Culture, who is hugely supportive of everything that we do with early childhood programming. And also we have Jen Duff here, who is an honorary board member, former board chair, and served on the IDEA Museum Board of Directors for 7 years. So thank you for being here. Any questions for us?
Mr. Luna.
You know, one of the things, the running theme when we did the task force was access. And maybe I need to talk to Mr. Brady about this, is how do we get these programs to communities that are underserved? And one of the ideas that emerged was to do like a fun van that would go to different parts of the community, and you could bring what you provide at the IDEA Museum there. Periodically, so that, let's say, for example, we have a wonderful rec center over at Jefferson Elementary School, have some kind of vehicle that would take you there, so that that community becomes aware. I know that District 6 would probably benefit from that, because there's just not a lot of things going on. So this is just David Luna speaking.
We would absolutely love to be a part of that, and it's an excellent segue if no one else on the council has questions for what are the recommendations of all of us of what we'd like to do next, and then get direction from the mayor and council. Heather, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for your attention.
As Councilmember Luna referred to, the Early Childhood Education Task Force did provide a number of recommendations in their report, suggestions for ways to help Mesa's children come to kindergarten ready and able to learn. This team has reviewed those recommendations, and we've identified several options to consider if council wishes to move forward. So this slide lists some of those options, and there's plenty more. This is our last slide, again, with some additional options. So, do you all have questions for us?
Heather, why don't you go ahead and cover those a little more?
Yeah, can you go back? Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that our team realized when we sat down and started talking about each of our department's programs is while I had a little bit of awareness of what the Idea Museum was doing because of the Artful Tales and how we partner on that, and I had a little bit of knowledge of what Parks and Rec does because they also have done programs at the library, we realized we didn't know what everybody was doing just within the city. And so we talked about that maybe there's a way to create some sort of city branding, marketing of the early education opportunities that our 4 departments provide. So that if somebody were to look at a city calendar of events, they could see some sort of logo or something that would signal to them this Park and Rec program is going to be aimed at an early learning enrichment opportunity. This library program will also do the same and that sort of thing. So then they can move between the 4 different departments and take advantage of all the opportunities. We also have talked about ways to collaborate again, maybe with Mesa Public Schools. So it's been really nice to have Dr. Foley join us. Basically, is there a way that we could partner with the school and either come periodically, monthly, weekly, somehow, and reach out to those parents who have children maybe at that school, but then they have younger siblings who will soon be coming to that school, and then maybe we can target those younger siblings and provide, just as Councilmember Luna said, maybe some enrichment activities there on campus for those children who aren't yet in school. There's opportunities for many shared grants, ASU, First Things First, and others. We've already talked with ASU about some opportunities, and there is a grant request that has been submitted to First Things First to kind of be a coordinator for people who provide early childhood education, whether it's a nonprofit or profit, city, faith-based organizations. We need to have a better coordination of all the efforts that are going on in the city because the task force did identify there are a lot of quality efforts, but we don't necessarily know about each other. And then we talked about something which we're calling Mesa Packs. We can come up with something better. But the idea that, again, a number of us have takeaways, but wouldn't it be nice if a parent could come to a program and get a backpack that would have everything they needed, not just the handout with the activities and songs and appropriate reading, but maybe the actual books themselves, because a lot of these homes don't have books in the home. The studies show that. Maybe some manipulatives, those sorts of things that would go in a backpack and go home with the parent and the child, and then they could use those during the week. And then we have ThinkSpot 2.0 coming at the main library. We've already decided it's going to have an early childhood education focus to it, but maybe it could also become sort of a resource center where parents could go in there and get information and referrals to these other organizations. And finally, we know that there needs to be a way to, if we can get awareness and can make people just aware of what opportunities are out there, are they accessing it more? Is it more available? How do we measure that? So, any questions?
Thank you. I think Mr. Luna has some questions. I know I do. Yes.
I like the Mesa Packs. I think it's a great idea. Make it age appropriate for the child. And this would be if we could have some kind of mechanism for delivery, because again, the biggest issue that we found is access. Parents couldn't get to the facility. We have a wonderful Idea Museum. I'm on the board. I know it's a great place, and we have a wonderful staff, and they do an amazing job. The same with the Mesa Historical Museum, Natural History, and and Parks and Rec's amazing. I'm not sure about that. What was that thing?
Whack a neighbor.
Whack your neighbor. That's not what we're trying to teach the kids, but.
Releases energy.
Releases energy. Those are great opportunities. But it's the accessibility. How do we get those to the communities that need them most? And so we might want to do a pilot, look at doing some kind of van that we could wrap and call it the Mesa Packs, and then do delivery of those kits that you talked about. And then also tout the wonderful programs that we have available. We can start with at least those enriching activities, because we have a lot of pieces. We have a lot of different pieces, and combining them together and then working with some of our schools in the neighborhoods that need it most would be advantageous.
Mayor and Councilmember Luna, we do have at Parks and Recreation and Community Facilities, we do have the Fun and Fitness program, which is actually a van and a fully stocked trailer that go out to all areas of the valley or of the city and do bring a recreation experience to them. And it's been very popular. We get hundreds of children every day. And I just want to let you know that we do have that. And if ever you have a need someplace, if you let us know, we'll make sure that that school or playground or community is included.
Excellent, excellent. If we can incorporate the IDEA Museum as well as the Museum of Natural History and their programming, as well as the library, that would be an amazing partnership.
Yeah.
Mike, I think Mr. Kavanaugh might have a question for you.
It's more of a comment, just to build on what Councilmember Luna talked about. Way back in the olden days of the Stone Ages, when I was young, we had the bookmobile was a great way of creating access to literacy and learning and experiences. And in building on what you've done in Parks and Recreation, I'm thinking that, we have command vans for public safety and things like that, but maybe an opportunity to, again, through grant funding and other sources, to outfit a mobile center that incorporates programs and access to activities for all four departments. And it's also a great way, if you're creating a brand or marketing effort for this early childhood experience, to do that, because again, with a city of almost 140 square miles, it is a challenge for people to get to the various places. Probably the easiest access to all the many parks that we have that are spread out. But I think it's a concept that we should look at, because I know the Parks and Rec's mobile unit has been very, very successful. But I think there's an opportunity to take the branding to a different level, but create this mobile access for all these programs, because I've been around for a long time, but I never heard of Whack Your Neighbor, or some of the. I have done the singing and dancing for, which is really scary, for reading to kids for the past 6 or 8 years. But a lot of these other programs I didn't know, and I've served on the boards of a lot of the institutions, and so if we're not familiar with it, then I think it shows that we've got some room to move. But I think there's some interesting approaches that we can take. It really is as a priority for our community. It's there with public safety in terms of the importance of our early childhood education, and I think it could be a very creative venture to create a kind of a whatever you want to call it, the Mesa Pack van or Mesa Pack command van or something like that. But it's, I think it's something maybe we should explore. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh. Thank you. I'll go ahead and take my turn. First of all, thank you. I can't tell you how proud I am of the organizations that have come forward this morning and made presentations. Heather and Tom and Sunny and Mike, I think going forward, I'm just going to call you the Godfather, but with this whole Whacking Your Neighbor program in the Parks and Rec. I didn't know we had those resources available to us in the city, but I will take full advantage of them going forward. We really, again, a fantastic programs. My only regret in all of this is that we're not taking it to a larger scale and impacting more lives, because the quality of the program is fabulous. But Heather, could you do me a favor and flip back to slide number 3 in your presentation? I think this artwork was originally included in the task force report. And I think if we look at this, everybody in this room ought to be very uncomfortable with the numbers that are on this slide. particularly the purple area. Well, of course, we know early childhood education is critically important, 90% of the brain, I get that. But here's the problem, 36% of Mesa kids are involved in early childhood education. The national average is 48%. I think we all need to decide that's not okay. We don't want to be below average and when it comes to early childhood education. We don't want there to be a disadvantage for a child to be raised in Mesa, Arizona, as opposed to somewhere else in the country. So this needs to be a call to action, I think, to all of us to say we've got these fantastic programs in the city of Mesa. We need to take them to scale, and we need to raise that number. We need to figure out how many kids do we need to get into their lives and help them to move that number from 36 to 50. I mean, it seems a little, frankly, odd that we're saying let's strive to be mediocre. Let's strive to have half of our kids get an opportunity to be prepared for kindergarten. But that's a good first step, I think. So I would like to challenge this council and challenge city staff and challenge our community to rise to that challenge. Let's get from 36% to 50% in terms of our kids walking into kindergarten better prepared. I think this, rewinding about a year or so ago when we started this whole process, it was based on a very discouraging conversation that I had with Dr. Cowan, where he talked about how it's traditionally every first day of school he goes to kindergarten classes, and how depressing it was to him to see that in increasing numbers of these kids are failing to fail the assessment. In other words, they don't have any of the skills that are tested for in the assessment in kindergarten. That's a trend in our community, and it's a trend that unless we bring these resources that you've identified and that are so powerful in our community, unless we marshal them and focus them on a shared goal, that trend is going to continue to go down, and Dr. Cowan will continue to have depressing first days of kindergarten. So I'm very grateful to the task force that helped us identify where we're at and identified some great solutions for us. I'm thrilled also with the recommendations that are included on the last two slides of your presentation. I think these are great ideas, but they need, and the problem, I think, is one of leadership right now. We need, the mayor and the city council need to step up and challenge our city staff to say, great job, you need to do more. You know, it's great that we've identified that we've maybe to this point been in silos, and the library doesn't know entirely what the museums were doing, and Parks and Rec perhaps was doing their thing, not realizing there's an opportunity to coordinate with the other things that are going on. I think if we all get in the room and we decide, okay, the mayor and council have told us this is a priority, we were just waiting for you to give us the green light to go ahead and do this, that you can do that, and we can move the needle from a third to a half. And then once we get to a half, we may or may not be satisfied with that, but let's get to a half. So I'd love to see us flesh out these last two slides and have an action plan and say, these are great ideas, particularly Mesa Packs. Heather, maybe we can come up with a better name. Personally, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But this is the idea, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's no wrong way to skin this cat. I mean, I think that what the task force identified is that mothers of 4-year-olds aren't all universal in the way they want to provide pre-K to their kids. Some will want to send them to an all-day facility. Others will want to do it at home. Others are just looking for enrichment programs to augment what they're doing in their home or in half-day pre-Ks, and some are doing absolutely nothing. So, we don't want to dictate, it's a one-size-fits-all response to this situation, but something like a Mesa Pack, kind of a take it home and have a homeschool pre-K, that's a fabulous idea for a lot of families. But it's not something that everybody's going to want to do. But I mean, if the larger menu that we can have that families can pick from, so that when those kids are showing up the first day of kindergarten, they're not I mean, they have the skills to measure, I think the better. So I'm anxious to hear from the rest of the council. I need to express my appreciation to Mr. Luna for chairing the committee several months ago. We're fortunate that in addition to a lot of the skills that he brings, he has a PhD in education, and I hope to take full advantage of his enthusiasm and his training in this topic as well. But I don't think I'm a lone voice on this. I'm anxious to hear from other council members, but I'm hoping that there's some consensus from the council to staff saying, yes, let's get from a third to a half. Love these ideas. Let's wrap a bunch of vans. Let's do everything that we can. I mean, money will be the challenge, obviously. And so the problem is, I mean, nothing's for free, but we do have some great city organizations already, and they have budgets already. There are innovative things we can do to do more with less. I'm sorry to challenge you to do that, but this is government. That's what we got to do. And I think we need to be aggressive in giving you the green light to go out and pursue grants and funding opportunities. I think everybody in the state of Arizona is in the same boat that we're in. And if Mesa can provide some leadership and we can get philanthropy and partner with other organizations like ASU to do more in this area, I think everybody wants to do something. And if we step up and say, let's do that in Mesa, I think there'll be some great opportunities. So thank you. I look forward to what's going to happen in this area going forward. Mr. Finter, did you have a comment?
Well, I was going to kindly respond to your challenges. There's lots of challenges out there. But I better start by saying I really appreciate all the work that's been done through Dr. Luna, for all the groups that have spoken today. I've had 3 grandsons that have gone through many of these programs, Idea Museum, Natural History. You know, they're getting to the point on the sports programs. And, you know, I was thinking back, and maybe the mayor will, in the 60s, as a little boy, pre-K, you know, kindergarten, those kind of things, we had the opportunity. When I hear some of these challenges and goals, we used to do this in this community. I can remember coming next door here to the old library on my bicycle with my brothers and sisters for programs that were book-related and movie-related. I can remember going to the old Whitman School, and they had activities to kind of help nurture reading and other programs. So, and then the aquatics program, that kept me out of jail, I'm pretty sure, you know, going through some of those. And so we have a rich history. Now I can count back 3 generations of doing things like this. And unfortunately, we've been through this great recession. I think we're still trying to climb out of it. I've watched the library and others do so much more with so much less. So, but when I get fired up when I hear the mayor say, hey, I challenge you to do this, and oh yeah, by the way, money. So I would look to our good city manager and say, sir, how much is this gonna cost, these options, and how are we gonna pay for it? And when do we have that discussion? You know, many of us are leaving here in a couple of months, in conjunction with the other very pressing budget needs. And so, I don't think anybody with a heart that would be against, helping the children in the community grow and develop. And I'm right there with you, just trying to figure out how to do it smartly on the budget.
Thank you. Mayor and Councilmember Finter, I think we appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation because we wanted to make sure the council understood there's a lot of programming going on, and the collaboration today is at its highest point that's ever been between the departments. So this idea that there's discussions going back and forth and co-branding and cross-marketing will continue to grow with programs within the city. I think what we're looking for, direction we're looking for from council today, and you've touched on those very well, is we've identified a variety of options to move forward, but we have not spent a lot of time putting, pencil on paper to say this is the impact fiscally. So that's something we would need to do to come back to council. We didn't want to spend a lot of time going down these paths until we got some direction from council. And I think like programs like this, especially new programs, where the city, while we're doing the programs here, we wanted to say, here's what the city does. And I guess when we get clarification is what is our overall objective? Because I don't know that we as the city can really direct the change in how, I don't know how we direct the change in how many people actually enroll in preschool. What we can do is I think we can expand possibly the services and the exposure to the programs that we're providing today, and maybe enhancing that to get these quality preschool programs in the homes, or having, as we were talking about, maybe the possibility of having mobile units where we make the access to these programs more easy, and taking the programs to the individuals. It's hard to replicate what happens in our facilities because we have great facilities, but if we could expose individuals to the programs we have by going out into the field, one, that should be beneficial, but two, maybe that it kind of makes them aware of the opportunities to come to our facilities, whether it's the museums or the libraries. And so I think there's a benefit to that. What I would propose to the council is, if this is the direction of council, something that you would be interested in us working on, and apologies to those council members who may be departing us fairly soon. I think what it would make sense is for us to come back with a kind of fiscal impact of kind of maybe putting more details on these programs, and then putting a fiscal impact on that. And certainly as councils, as we do at the beginning of calendar years, we have kind of our strategic discussions. And one of the things that would be good to hear is, where does this fit in the priority of all the things that we're always looking at in a city, and then that will help us as we guide us in allocating dollars in the future. So I think the next step is help us understand, what is it we're trying to accomplish? Is it increasing the numbers of this age group to these kind of programs, and diversifying the opportunities throughout the city? If that's what we're achieving, that helps us. And then we can take these programs and, again, I say, come back with maybe more of a fiscal impact and detail, and present to the council before we go further. And then, as you said, trying to identify the competing resources for programs like this.
Thank you. I think you make a good point, that as good as all of these programs are, you know, an occasional trip to the Idea Museum or an occasional experience in Parks and Rec is not a substitute for a preschool program. I mean, it's an hour here and there. It's not the dosage that's really going to have an impact, I think, on preparing someone to walk into kindergarten. So I guess we're talking about maybe two different things. That there's enrichment programs that we're great at. I wish we, again, we're on a larger scale, and instead of impacting a few thousand kids, it was tens of thousands of kids, because we're a community of 500,000 people. But that's great, but I think we also need to figure out, how are we actually going to increase that number of, have a kid's experience be sufficient enough that it is comparable to being enrolled in some sort of a preschool program. And that's a pretty intense thing. So that's where I think maybe some of the options that we were talking about, for example, the take-home kits, we could actually say, okay, there's 1,000 more kids, 1,000 more homes that have the tools to do something akin to a preschool program. So we're going to move the needle by 1,000 or whatever. Again, I would love for us not to abandon this goal of trying to get to half of our kids having some form of early childhood education. But I think these are the ideas that we need to give you the green light to say, you know, be robust in your thinking. You know, how can we, again, do something significant in a kid's life within the constraints that we have, the budgetary constraints that we have, by being creative and innovative and using the resources that we have. I guess I don't know, but I'm anxious for us to continue to have this discussion, and I know we've got great staff with great ideas. We just need to let you free and have you figure this out for us, along with Mr. Luna.
I think, Mr. Brady, you really touched on that. Certainly, we can't do a preschool, but what we can do is educate the community with the number of enrichment programs that we have available. And I think that's what we need to do initially, is let the community know, especially places where they don't have access, that they can come to a place and they can see the great programs that we have available. What we can do is the Mesa Packs. That can be strategic to 4-year-olds. And that's something that we can build, have that in the Mesa Pack van, if you would call it, and then have that available as we go into the locations where I think, which is where there is greater need. So at least provide the access initially, and then wrap it around with your wonderful enrichment programs. That's what I would recommend.
I appreciate hearing what council has to say, and the mayor. I just wanted to add a little bit to what has already been said. I know with Natalie leading the way on this committee, there's been a lot of discussion amongst all of us of what else can we do. As everyone knows, we have the heart and we are a very creative group. One of the reasons that we didn't know a lot about, even though we knew some, about what each other's department is doing is because we're all respectfully maxed out, and we want to do more. So we know we're going to have to find additional funding and also look for collaborations. And one of the things that keeps coming up is how can we collaborate with the Mesa Public Schools and bring things to the school, because Don Foley had mentioned the importance of working with the preschools and creating them with each of the school, because the child, as many of you know, develops right in their neighborhood, and then will learn how to go to that school and then age up through the school. And so I think having the two, we all think having the two paths of trying to get awareness more, because there's a lot of people that don't know what we're doing that live in the community, as well as then developing a deeper dive and making more of an impact through whatever can be done with the preschools with Mesa Public Schools. That's all I wanted to share.
That's an important point, Sonny. If we have a Mesa City program, it's not going to be successful. This has got to be, frankly, a Mesa Public Schools program that the city of Mesa is partnering with for it to have the impact that I think we'd like it to have. I know there's other great school districts, Gilbert Public Schools, Queen Creek as well. I don't think, frankly, I would guess that the enrollment in pre-K is probably higher in those parts of town as opposed to the area of town that Mesa Public Schools services. So I think it's critically important that and I know Dr. Foley would be here but for her dead battery, and that we've been working closely with Mesa Public Schools. But that's important going forward, is that everything that we do be very coordinated with Mesa Public Schools. Yes, Mr. Thompson.
And thank you all for the presentation. I think it was a really good presentation. You know, our kids have been involved in the Parks and Rec and the different things that the city provides since they were little bitty, and even still to this day, they're involved. You know, and this is kind of where I was hoping when this whole committee initially kicked off, where it would go, because I think we have some great city assets that can be utilized a little bit better by our community. Part of me also believes that there's a personal responsibility on the parental side that they need to be involved in their child's education as well. And it goes back to the old adage that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And, you know, we can market this as much as we want, but there has to be some responsibility on the parental side that they want to be involved in their child's education and upbringing to be able to get to that, you know, additional 1,000 kids, or, you know, take that third to a half. So, you know, I'm all for, you know, helping find the money where we can leverage our existing assets. What I don't want to do is start writing checks to the education community, because that's really not our role as a city council. It's our role is to take care of our citizens by ensuring that they have an adequate drinking water, and when they flush their toilet, the sewer or the wastewater goes somewhere, and that we have the fire and police necessary to protect our citizens. So I want to make sure that we're utilizing our funds correctly, and that we are leveraging our assets the way they need to be leveraged. So.
Thank you. So I think you need some direction from us, and I would propose that I think what I heard is that funding we all acknowledge is the challenge, and so I think there is consensus that we do need to pursue whatever additional funding is out there. So I think you have a green light to chase after every grant that you might come across, and that during budgeting we will we're going to have a listening ear when Sonny comes and says, I'm maxed out, I can't do any more, I can't wrap a van with the amount of money I have. I mean, give us some proposals as to how we go to the next level, how we take the great things you're doing and do them on a larger scale. I'll be an advocate during budgeting process, for having a coordinated effort to expand the number of people, the number of kids that we influence. And then I think we need to have, frankly, an innovative way to try to move that needle from a third to a half, and it might be Mesa packs, might be something like that. It's that and maybe 3 or 4 or 10 other things in addition to that, so we can widen the menu for families to choose from. The other challenging thing, and again, I go back to that slide number 3 in your presentation. Preschool is expensive. Look at this, $8,400 is the annual median cost to provide a year of preschool. That's just not in the equation for a lot of families. So to the extent that we can provide an option for that, a more affordable option by focusing our resources so that people can, you take advantage of the enrichment activities that we have and maybe some of the innovative resources we can make available to people. Maybe that's how we're going to move that needle. So, Council, would it be fair to say the consensus is, yes, please go forward, please chase after the money that you can, and then please come back to us with a program that will help us with this goal of moving from a third to a half? Is the way that's the message I would hope that you take away from this morning.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is item number 2, information pertaining to current job order contracting projects. Council, any questions regarding that material that you've seen? Hearing none, the next item is acknowledge receipt of minutes of boards and committees. There's a motion here and a second by Mr. Richens, I can see on this side. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Next is item 4 here, reports on meetings and conferences attended. Yes, Mr. Luna.
Today at, I think 10:30, I'm going to have boo reading time at the Red Mountain Library. So I'm looking forward to that. And I also have a candy giveaway at the Red Mountain Maricopa Community College on Monday. So looking forward to that. Also want to thank Cindy Ornstein and Rob Schultz for a wonderful Dia de los Muertos. It was an amazing event. Thank you for such a great job. And I want to thank John Pombier. Is John around? John Pombier, thank you so much.
Stand up, John.
For, yes. Oh, he is standing. I can say that, so it's okay, I can say that. I want to thank John Pombier for facilitating a wonderful workshop for Latino Town Hall. I was very, very proud of his efforts in doing that, and also our city staff, and I'm trying to find out who was in there. It was Irma Ashworth. Irma Ashworth. It was Liz Morales. It was Corvée Smith and Isaias Garcia Romero. They did a wonderful job. So thank you for being part of the Latino Town Hall and all city staff. I know that Mesa Fire was there and Mesa Police Department were there, and a number of you attended. So thank you for your attendance, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow night.
We're not there yet. He'll get to future events. I was just going to say, I attended Monday SRP 101 it's an information session with SRP, and if you guys have never attended one, I recommend in a future year, jumping in on that, because you learn a lot about how the water system is developed and what are the challenges and stuff. So now we're probably ready for future events.
Well, any other past events? We going in chronological order? Okay, now moving forward, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to remind everyone, tomorrow night at the Superstition Police Department Station at 2430 South Ellsworth Road, We will have our spooky Halloween, our second annual Halloween trunk or treat. It's from 5:30 to 8 p.m., so I would invite all of you out. Bring your kids or grandkids if you wish. Thank you.
That's the biggest trunk or treat, I think, in the city. I'm amazed the number of people, kids that come out to Mr. Thompson's event. So come early if you want the candy, I bet. Huh? Mr. Brady, what else do we need to know on scheduling of future events?
Thank you, Mayor. A lot going on. The Copper State Fly-In is being held this Friday, October 28th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Saturday, October 29th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Falcon Field. So we invite everybody out to see all of the planes that are coming in for the Copper State Fly-In. We also have Wingstock. Wingstock 2016 is this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Mesa Amphitheater. So invite everybody out for Wings and Music. Also, the 33rd Annual Roy Track Memorial Powwow is this Friday and Saturday, all day at the Pioneer Park. Admission is free. And then for Mayor and Council, the next study session will be Thursday, November 3rd at 7:30 a.m. We'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Busy week and weekend ahead. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Finder, seconded it. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.